Okay, well, good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for taking time to join us today. My name is Belinda Berrigan, and I'm the Programs and Policy Director here at Hope. So I get the honor of working with Diana and the college program and all you amazing women. Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for taking time to join us today. My name is Belinda Berrigan. I get to hear myself. Can you hear a back second person talking? Working with Diana and the college program and all you amazing ladies. Thank you. It's like 10 times. Okay. So did you hear me with the first part already?
Yes.
Okay. So today's webinar is going to be about Latinas in tech, and I think one of the reasons this is so important to Hope is realistically, I mean, when it comes to STEM and STEAM, if you're into the arts, it's so important that we have Latinas at those tables, and really that's where the money's at, right? Is in these careers, whether it's nursing or some kind of digital something or other. I mean, this is where the careers are all headed. And I think it's so important for Latinas to be aware of these different careers that there could be in technology. And I mean, that's really why Diana wanted to insert this into our program, is to make sure that you ladies were aware of that. And whether it's around energy or other issues, like there's just so many things that us as Latinas are not at those tables. And these are where the money's, and decisions are being made about how to move forward with the state and really what they're looking for positions. And they're hungry. They're hungry to meet Latinas like yourselves, who are young, smart, ready to go right out of college. So, we're happy that Diana put this together, and you guys are in great hands with her. She has some good questions to ask, and just, any feedback, input that you ladies can give, so that, us here at Hope can design programming that's better for you ladies, that you can see what's out there and what decisions you guys have in front of you that you could be making that would really help you in your futures and your careers for you and your families. So again, thank you for taking time out of your day to be on the webinar. And again, you're in great hands with Diana. She's amazing, as you all know. So look forward to meeting you guys soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Belinda. So Belinda's gonna step out because we are a nonprofit and we do a lot. So she's gonna go on to do some work, but I wanted to start off by giving you ladies the opportunity to introduce yourselves. So I have Heidi, who is an attorney, and Alejandra, who works for one of the bigger communications companies. So if I can start with Heidi.
Great. So thank you all for joining us. My name is Heidi Vaccarano, and I am an attorney. I practice entertainment, new media, and technology law. I have my own law firm called Vaccarano Law PC, and I've been on my own for 5 years. I'm also the managing director of Girls in Tech, the LA chapter, and we are a global nonprofit that educates, engages, and empowers women in technology.
Alejandra? Oh, Alejandra, I think we can't hear you. We're having some technical difficulties. No, you're not on mute.
Check your volume.
Yeah. Is your mic on? Huh. Okay, let's see. I think she's gonna try to. Okay, I think she's gonna try to log back on. So one of the things that we did, so to give you a little bit of context, Heidi and everyone watching, we produced a conference for college students called the Young Professional Summit. We specifically target Latinas. And as part of that conference, we invite Latina professionals in a variety of different fields. We do a little bit of a heavier emphasis on STEM. And one of the fields that unfortunately we couldn't get present there was Latinas in the tech industry. And so I wanted to make sure that we included a webinar that would allow them some access to that. So while we work on getting Alejandra back on, Heidi, I'll go ahead and ask you. We'll get started with some of the questions. So was working in the tech industry or in the sector something that you had always planned? When you were a law student, is this the kind of law you were thinking about doing, or is it something that it just kind of fell in your lap?
Right. So I have a sort of weird path. I actually started in entertainment, working in the music industry. And my former job I had gotten when I was a sophomore in college, and I was there for 11 years. I worked throughout law school. So I went to law school at night, and I really paid my dues at that time, really learning, being my former boss's right-hand person. And that led me into, as you're in law school, you have, similar to college, you can have your own pick classes after you fulfill your core classes. And I decided that I definitely wanted to take courses in more than just music. So I took classes in film and TV, drafting technology agreements, video game law. So I knew that I always wanted to have an understanding of the underlying technology. When I graduated law school and passed the bar, I jumped into working more in entertainment. But as you saw, the entertainment industry had been not making that much money for a lot of years due to things like Napster. So I really saw the need to understand, like I said, the underlying technology and bridge that gap between the branded content that comes from entertainment that's being used in that technology. So that was what I saw my niche being able to speak both languages, understand copyright issues, and understand how to protect software and hardware applications.
Awesome. So let's see if, Alejandra, we can make it work.
Can you hear me now?
Yay, we can hear you now. So if you want to just introduce yourself, and the first question was just how you landed in the tech field. So is it something that you had always planned, or something that was a mid-career transition?
All right. Yeah, so my full name is Alejandra Ledesma, and I work at Disney Interactive. I'm a software engineer, and I focus on machine learning. So back when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to work at an office. I wasn't really thinking specifically the tech industry or anything. I loved to type, and I liked calculators and computers. But yeah, like I said, I never really envisioned myself working in any particular sector. I knew I wanted this job when I discovered I could do many things with code. And I actually didn't know anything about coding until I was already working here at Disney. So it opened a lot of, being here at the company opened a lot of opportunities for me. And yeah, I love my job.
Awesome. So what did you do? What were you doing before you transitioned into the tech field?
I was working in localization, which is a discipline that involves translation and basically adapting content into other languages. So I did translation from English to Spanish and vice versa, but I also got to learn a lot about languages: Arabic, Hebrew, Japanese, Korean, gamut. So yeah, that's how I started here.
Cool. So the next question is, how did your earlier career choices lead you to where you are now? So I know we talked a little bit about Heidi, you talked a little bit about having, getting your feet wet while you were in law school, but was there a specific point that you decided that this is what I want to do? I'm going to go into business for myself.
Wow. Well, I definitely had outgrown the previous law firm from the point of view I had grown my client base, and they were a little bit more diverse. Like I said, I always focused on expanding my practice involving film and TV and technology. So I knew a time came that I wanted to establish myself as just Heidi and not Heidi from X law firm. So that was something that was important to me, and I decided to make the jump. And it's been a really great experience. Tough, but great to be able to just learn and be able to take on new opportunities and such as Girls in Tech, which has been a great way to delve deeper into the tech space too.
Awesome. And Alejandra, was there something while you were doing, your previous work that you were like, what was it that sparked your going into the particular kind of work you're doing now? And I'm going to give a disclaimer. Actually, Alejandra has participated in a few of our other kind of programs, and she's talked to our high school students as well. So I know you took a separate course that was maybe offered by the company.
Wait, a class? So sorry, I didn't know the question was for me.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying that because you're doing coding now, correct? So how did you, or at what point did you decide that you wanted to try coding, and was there like a specific program that you did?
Yeah, so the company Disney offered a program where they gave us the opportunity to learn how to code. So for 3 months, we went into a classroom. We came into the work environment, but only to study and learn. And then after the 3-month period, we completed a project and then went into a process that's very similar to speed dating. We got to meet different teams to see what they were doing. We showed them our projects, and then we basically interviewed, and that's how we got placed. I got 2 offers from 2 different teams, and they just one of them just took me under their wing, and I've been with them since then. So yeah,
awesome.
That's how I got it.
You got lucky. So let's see. So is there any career mistakes that you made that were like the biggest lessons? So the girls in our college program, some of them are freshmen, but quite a few of them are in their last year of college. And so they're eager to get more information about going into the work sector. So is there any career, and we hear often that the biggest lessons we get from failures. And so is there any advice, any hard lessons learned that have made a huge impact in your careers? Heidi, I can go to you first.
Well, I will say that one of the things that I didn't do, since I had already been established in at least the entertainment industry, was keep up with the LinkedIn, like keeping that updated and really remaining, using my socials for purposes of building my career and reputation, right? So that's something that after I opened my own firm, I had to basically start from scratch and learn all the new techniques that people are using for that. So that's something that I think that as a college student, you definitely should pay attention to that, have a great headshot, have all your jobs, all your volunteer work, and make sure that you have a diverse background that shows that.
Alejandra, do you have any advice from any hard lessons learned?
I think throughout the years, I just learned to be more assertive, because coming into work from college, I assumed that people that worked here already knew so much more, and I lacked a lot of confidence. So I learned to be more assertive. That was something that has helped me a lot. And I think the biggest mistake that I've made was assuming that school would give me all the tools that I needed to be successful at work. Because you go to school and that's great, but I think you need to continue to learn. Technology changes so fast, and the things that are true now won't be true next year. So you have to adapt and keep learning. So if you go to college and assume like once you graduate, it's done and you're never going to have to study or learn anything again, that's a wrong assumption, I think, because no matter what career you choose, you're always going to have to continue to learn to keep up with the new things, especially with technology.
Yeah, I think there's, I was talking to a few of my friends and we were talking about our personalities and how one of the things that we all shared in common was that we thought of ourselves as lifelong learners. So it's always, being open to learning new things. So I absolutely agree with actually both of you. So the girls have had quite a bit of training on how to brand yourself and using technology like LinkedIn to do that. So thanks for sharing that. So let me see. So what was your first win that made you confident that you were doing the right thing? So was there like a big project that you did, or maybe you secured a contract, or was there a big win that you're like really proud of that till this day you're like, yeah, I made it? I can go with Heidi.
Well, when you're an entrepreneur or solo practitioner like me, every day is a win because it's tough. You're doing your own thing. You're your own boss. You reel in the client. You establish yourself, and you're also doing the agreements. I'm lucky to have been able to hire my first associate, so that's really nice. But I would say that recently one of my big wins that I'm proudest of is just through a networking opportunity. I met a VR company that creates software and hardware, and I was able to actually negotiate their deal with Disney and Lenovo, which are two really big companies. And I was so in the zone of doing the negotiation and just trying to do my best and get them the best deal that I didn't even notice what it was for at the end of the day. And later on during Black Friday, I saw one of the employees post that they were so happy that their product had come out, and it happens to be one of the biggest AR games, the Star Wars AR game, and they created they created the software behind the lightsaber, so that positional tracking system.
Oh, that's awesome! There's a link between the two of you.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, next to the team that worked on that.
No, how cool!
Small world.
Yes.
Alejandra, is there any?
Yeah, so for me, I think the first win, thinking back on like, I don't know, all the projects that I've been, I really remember this time that my director told me that I had earned my place in the table, and she wanted to hear my opinion. So that felt really good. And most recently, we onboarded 2 interns, and I've been just like telling them where to go, what to do, basically training them. So for me to have somebody to come to me and ask me questions, and me having the answers, not having to go to my manager or somebody else like, hey, they need help, like I actually have the answers. So it feels really good.
Awesome. I know I interns are, I think, actually, I'm going to make, that's not even a question here, but I'm going to make that one of my questions. How do you see the role of internships in the tech field as an opening for Latinos? So I know sometimes it's difficult for Latina students or Latino students to do internships because they have so many responsibilities. But what do you think? What advice do you have about securing internships? Maybe internships that are paid. So I'll go with I see Alejandra thinking, so I'll go with Heidi.
For me, I actually I think about it like on the other side, like helping create those opportunities and working with companies to bring in more diverse talent. So and I'm sure Alejandra has a different point of view because she's at an actual company that's hiring these. So for me, it's really important to keep creating those opportunities. I work a lot in our community here in LA, in the Latinx community, organizing hackathons and different meetup and networking events. So first and foremost, you should definitely find those opportunities and go to them and network, whether it becomes an internship opportunity or a mentorship opportunity. It's important to get out there and be visible.
Yeah, I also agree with everything that Heidi just said. And I would say fight for an internship that is paid. There's no reason. I actually think it's illegal for a company not to pay you nowadays. So really look into that. And also, like, if you get an internship, make sure that like you connect with people even outside of your team, make connections. And from a personal experience, because I had an internship when I first joined Disney, I would say, like, coming from a very traditional Hispanic family, I had to like tell my mom, like, no, I can't help you with my little brother and my little sister. I can't help you with like the dishes. I have to prioritize like the things that are important for me, because I had to go to school. I had to go to the internship, homework, and all these things. Like, I just couldn't, and it was something that was very difficult for me because I felt a lot of guilt. But talking to professors, and I found the right mentors that were like, you know, this is your life. Your brothers and sisters are going to grow, and they're going to like have to do the same thing that you're doing, and the dishes are going to be there. So you have to do what's right for you. So yeah, that's my piece of advice.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think sometimes we all struggle with balancing our responsibilities, whether it be school or our family or, you know, a job that pays to, you know, cover your rent. And always prioritizing and looking at internships is not just work experience, but then also networking experience. And I think that is absolutely not something that's taught in college. And I know personally it's something that I struggled with after college. Okay, so the next question is a little bit fun. So I'm going to ask you what your day looked like yesterday. So what did you do yesterday? So I'm going to go with, I'll go with Heidi.
Well, yesterday was actually a really fun day. I got to go up to the San Fernando Valley here to Chatsworth to get a tour of Toolbox LA, which is a new co-working space. They opened in September, and they have a maker lab. So they have 3D printing, leather printing, a lot of more of the hardware maker lab type things. So that was really fun. And I connected with another Latina in tech who runs a venture fund. Again, just more for hardware in tech. And so that was really fun. So after that drive, then I worked my way over to Santa Monica, and I met with a client to go over their product roadmap and figure out what I needed to do on their behalf to build out their terms of service and privacy policy. And then I wrapped up the day doing a conference call and hot yoga.
Fun. That sounds very LA of you. You're driving everywhere, and then it ends with hot yoga.
Yeah.
Alejandra?
Well, my day couldn't be any like it's like super different from Heidi's. So first of all, I take the bus because I find it like more relaxing and I can read. I live only 30 minutes away from my workplace, but I still like taking the bus besides saving money. But then when I got to work, I started by like reading some documentation because I'm going to start working on a project and I need to know how I'm going to do it, the technologies that I'm going to need to use. And then I had a super long meeting with a group of engineers who are based in Oregon, and they're going to help us implement a machine learning deployment pipeline into their tool. So yeah, it's a lot of like coding and reading the documentation and having fun riding the bus and reading more documentation as I head home.
So did you, I guess like
no hot yoga.
No hot yoga. I think you have a nice relaxing bus drive. So I think that makes sense as a de-stressor. Let me see. So the next one is a little bit, I feel maybe like a little bit more serious, a little bit more deeper. So what is your take on diversity in the tech field? So I know, Heidi, you're involved in some Latino focused groups that you know promote tech to young people. So what's your perspective on diversity in the field? And then I'll go to Alejandra.
Just to begin with, there needs to be a lot more work done. Less talk and more work is how I feel. I really, when I started to jump and moved my practice into the tech space, it was the first time that I found these Latinx in tech groups. So from there, I immediately felt like the need, and I think that's something in our culture too, that when we find ourselves in a higher position, that we send the elevator down to help the rest of our community. So that's been something that was important to me. So through that kind of work, I've helped, like I said, on hackathons. Girls in Tech has a lot of meetups at local startups that help get our members into startups that they wouldn't have the opportunity to. And also doing work from the immigration side, I also connected with Undocumedia and helped organize their UndocuHacks hackathon.
Oh, I think we're.
It got caught off.
Yeah, I think she might have frozen.
Oh, there we go.
Heidi? Okay. I think your computer might have frozen, but we can hear you.
Okay. Can you log back out and then?
Okay, there you go. We
perfect.
We got you back.
So I'm not sure where I got cut off, but I mentioned that I also work from the immigration activist side and helped organize one of the first immigrant youth-led hackathons with Undocumedia. So trying to attack the diversity and inclusion issue from all angles, women, Latinx, and all of what is included under our communities as well.
Awesome. Alejandra, as somebody who is, working for a communications, or I don't even know how you would define Disney. It does so many different things, but how, what's your perspective as a Latina in the field, and what do you think about diversity, and how do we get more girls interested?
Well, I really think it starts from when you're very little. I think of all the toys that I got when I was, I don't know, like 5 years old. My mom gave me like a little mop and a bucket because I was going to go out and mop and, like, for some reason have fun while being a housewife, right? So I think we really need to start thinking about the ways that we treat like little girls, not put them in a corner and just show them this stereotypical figure. That would be a good way to start, because we definitely need more women in general, but having more women from different ethnic backgrounds would be ideal. I mean, I just look around and everybody that I work with is either a white guy or like, I don't know, 1 in 10 is like a girl from India. And I have no Hispanics, no Latinos working with me. So it's just demoralizing at times, because even when I talk to the people that I know back home in Mexico, and they're like, oh God, that's for geeks. We have this like horrible stigma around, like they look at me and they're like, oh, well, this job is perfect because you're awkward. And it's like, no, like we need to remove that stereotype. Maybe I do fit the stereotype, but we need to make it more appealing for everybody, because it's, I think a lot of the technology is moving to an area where we need to have these skills, and without them, we're gonna miss on like really good jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. I one of the things that we talk about with our high school program is that you become what you know. So the careers we seek are the careers that our parents know about or that are familiar for us. Especially if you're a first generation college student, you probably only know like doctor, lawyer, a teacher. So you don't. It's hard to branch out. And I think programs like Girls in Tech, or programs like this one that expose them to Latinas in those different sectors, are crucial. I think exposure and hands-on experience are critical. So the next couple of questions are going to be advice for girls who are interested in tech, but but the one question career advice, if you will. But one question that I wanted to ask before I move on to that is, are there any programs that you would recommend someone maybe late in the high school years or in college to, if they're interested in tech, to check out, if you know of any and you'd like to share? Alejandra?
Yes, Coursera, and I can share the link. It's basically a site that where a lot of different universities, very prestigious ones, Stanford, MIT, you name it, they have classes that are free. So if anybody's interested in learning how to code, I would highly recommend that they go and take a class. They can sign up. It's completely free. If they want credit for some reason, they can pay like $49. But if you want to learn, you don't really need to pay. It's a great resource for anybody that wants to learn how to code, and it's the latest technology. They don't have any outdated information.
What? Can you repeat it again?
Coursera, CORCEURE. Sorry, I have dyslexia.
It's okay. We can share it with them after. Yeah. I'll include it in the link at the bottom of the web page.
Okay, here you go. It's COURSERA. Curse you, dyslexia. Yeah.
Heidi, do you have any programs or groups that you know about?
Yeah, I think along the same lines of what Alejandra said, General Assembly is really great too. They have both free and paid courses just to even learn about artificial intelligence or how to update your LinkedIn profile. That's one of the courses I took myself to learn. And as far as groups, I definitely suggest everyone look for Tequeria and Tectinos. They're both Latinx and tech groups. One's a listserv, one has a Slack group, and they host, Tequeria hosts monthly events at different startups too. And they'll have speakers from our own community and members. So it's really great opportunity, like Alejandra said, to meet another person that looks like you at these larger companies as well.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll jump onto the kind of advice questions. So what did you say? What did you do, or how did you set yourself apart from others who wanted maybe the same job as you? I know. I guess for Heidi, like, how do you? What makes you stand out as opposed to like a different lawyer? So how do you get your clients?
Well, I started really young. Like I said, when I met my former boss, I was a sophomore in college. So I paid my dues really early on and learned the politics. A lot of a lawyer is being able to manage those personalities and the politics. And then I just have always been inquisitive and have always wanted to learn more. So I myself as a lawyer have to take continuing legal education classes. So I'd always be the first one signing up for the virtual reality ones, for what is the law for drones. So stuff like that, being on the cutting edge really sets you apart, and networking and being somebody who is at those events. And for me, I feel more comfortable helping organize them rather than just being there and trying to network. So that's one of the main reasons I'm always on the other side organizing, because it provides you the opportunity to delve deeper with your members, and you get to meet and choose the speaker. So that's another way to get closer to them and network.
Awesome. Alejandra, how did you kind of set yourself apart?
Well, I would say I really put the time and effort to learn new technologies, and I continue to do so. With what I do, it's all about learning and applying what you have learned. You can't just say like, oh, I know how to do this. You actually have to sit there and do it. And you can't really just like sit down and expect others to tell you what to do step by step. It really helps to be self-driven and proactive. am given a lot of autonomy. Like I can get to the office at 11 in the morning, but I still have to do my job right. So yeah, self-driven and proactive. And also one thing that I hate, or I used to hate, networking, because I was like, no, I'm horrible at like talking to people, but it's definitely something that you need to do, especially here. There's a lot of developers that specialize in one thing. And if you come across a problem that requires that knowledge, then you need to go talk to them. And you can't just like, oh, I like avoided you for an entire year, and when I need your help, all of a sudden I'm at your desk. So it really needs to, I mean, it really helps to go and talk to people, get to know them, what they do, so that when you do need their help, they're there, they already know you, and they're not like taken aback because you just showed up.
I think that networking is hard for me too, and I think about it as like the professional adult version of doing your bed. Like you don't want to do it, but like you have to be done.
Becoming an adult.
Yes. Okay, let's see. So what is the best career advice you've ever received? And I think along with this one, I want to ask, somebody asked me to ask about mentors. So do you have mentors? What role did mentors play? And then if, your best career advice came from them, or if there's any other piece of advice that you feel like is very fruitful. So I'll go with Alejandra.
Yes, I think throughout my career, I found a lot of mentors for different areas. Like in localization, my previous role, my director gave me a book. She's like, this is a book that's going to show you how to like speak with more confidence and be more without being aggressive. Just you need to be assertive, because like your mind is in the right place. You have all the right ideas. You have potential. You just need to like get that across. So sometimes all you need is like that one person to like just push you, because you can be sitting there with all these ideas in your head, but like if you don't know how to execute them, you're just gonna be there. So I've been really lucky to have mentors and people that just like push me just a little bit, the right amount, so that I can actually move forward.
Heidi?
Well, I think the best advice was what I heard from my former boss, at least for lawyers, that law is a practice, and every day we're practicing that law. So there isn't necessarily like a right or wrong answer. You're doing the best for what fits your client's situation. So that kind of relieved the stress of feeling like, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Am I, am I messing up? Because it's a little bit different for lawyers when it comes to doing a contract. And as far as mentors, I definitely surrounded myself with friends who were like mentors. So when I didn't understand some facet of the law, I could go to someone else who practiced that, and they were willing to sit with me and give me advice. And so that's been really nice to be able to provide, to give myself that opportunity and to be able to do that for others as well.
Any advice on asking or, approaching someone and requesting maybe like a mentorship relationship? So how do you, if you have any mentees, or if you have any mentors, how do you approach someone and say like, oh, this is somebody that I'd like to maybe model my career after, or they have, a career trajectory that I really respect and I want to follow? How do you kind of make that ask, if you've had to make it, or how has anyone made it to you that you think maybe might be useful for some of our young women? So I'll go with Alejandra.
I think common practice in the companies that I've been working for, which is Nickelodeon and Disney, people usually just ask the other person to go get coffee, and then you just ask a bunch of questions like, what do you do? What is it like to be you? What do you study? What do you need to do? If you don't have the opportunity to ask them for coffee, I would just say any opportunity you have to approach them, just ask questions, introduce yourself, tell them what you want to do, and then go from there. Not very complicated, actually.
Heidi, do you have any advice? And I'd like to say this because I specifically added this question, tagged it onto that one because I get a lot of young girls who are maybe afraid to ask because they think, and it's true, we're all busy. I think we're every working professional is busy and they have a lot going on, but the more that I get this question asked, the more I'm puzzled because as busy as we are, we want to help people and we want to, help the next generation as well. So any advice on maybe securing or approaching someone to, kind of establish a mentorship relationship?
Right. So one of the recent ways I found a mentor was I volunteered at one of their events and created that relationship and rapport with them. And I really wanted to do it because it was in the field of diversity and inclusion, and that's really where my passion and interest lie in. But I'm not an expert in it, and I want to learn more, and I wanted to understand their path. So you first really have to make sure that you're going to connect with the person that is in that field that you admire and is doing the work that you eventually want to do. You have to learn about them, like what their history, what they majored in, what their former jobs were, and how they got there is important. And then I think that's, just be respectful of their time when you're asking to meet up with them for coffee or a call, have your questions ready, and just to really keep your conversation concise for what you need. Other ways, really, I think there's a lot of groups on Facebook now where you can find mentors, like Tech Ladies is a great one. Latinas Think Big is a good one where people can put out asks. And I know our Girls in Tech chapter is going to be launching a mentorship program too. So look for your local clubs or organizations and see if they already have pre-existing mentor programs.
Awesome. And something real quick that I wanted to add, try to set up a meeting after lunch, or not, I guess, avoid the right before lunch because a lot of people are super cranky at around 11:30. You don't want to get them around that time. They're probably going to be rude. A lot of people that I work with, and apparently that's like the area or the time that you should avoid. So maybe the afternoon or early morning, but not around like right before lunch.
Not too early in the morning, not before coffee and some food has been digested. I agree with that one. Okay, so let me see. Any kind of projections of where you see Latinas growing in the tech field? So any, like, do you see, coding being an option for, do you see more girls, I guess, being interested in coding, or is there other careers within the tech field, like, law or, marketing, that you see as areas where there might be more interest or more opportunities for diversity? So I'll go with Heidi.
Well, I agree. I think Alejandra mentioned earlier on about helping dispel those myths of being involved in tech so that, the younger children see that as an opportunity. I have a niece who just turned 9, and I gave her Girls Who Code books to help push her in the right direction. But definitely, I think in general, I see some of the programming that we're doing. For example, our first event for Girls in Tech is going to be a fashion and tech event, and we're going to be showcasing the CMOs and the CTO and head of operations. So I think that shows a diversity of careers you could get into. It just doesn't have to be an actual technical background. And there are other jobs that didn't really exist 10 years ago, like UX and UI, that are just as coveted as an engineering job. these days.
Okay, I'm gonna admit that I am not well versed in in tech lingo. So UX and UI means
It's user interface and user design. So it really has to do with like, like public facing parts of the tech space.
Okay. So the way that it looks, not necessarily the coding.
Exactly.
Oh, cool. Alejandra, do you have any predictions of where you see Latinas going in the tech field?
Well, I have definitely seen a lot around the medical sector. And just because I've taken some machine learning classes and I've seen that hospitals and researchers are using machine learning to predict whether a patient is going to be sick or not based on like their history. I think that's a super interesting area, and there's a lot of women that are already within that sector. If they're nurses or caregivers, I think there's a huge opportunity for anybody in the medical industry to combine or add technology in what they already do. And as far as the type of thing that they should be learning, I would say math is super important on anything that you want to do. If you want to do UX, like Heidi mentioned, if you want to code, if you want to go into the medical industry, if you want to become a nutriologist, a nurse, I think if you're in college, you should really pay attention to math because when I was in college, I actually wanted to avoid all the math classes. And, I math. My dad was a math professor, and I think because everything made so much sense to him, he was like, "Well, that's very straightforward. Like you're very stupid if you don't understand that." And so I think I grew up feeling like, okay, math is not for me, it's for somebody else that's so much smart like my dad is. But I encountered it in many places. I've done some UX work, and like you use it so much, and it makes your life so much easier. So yeah, I would advise like whatever you want to do, make sure that like you get math, like basic concepts are super useful no matter what you're going to do. And also communication skills, so important, because if you're a genius and you know how to do math, but you can't communicate what's going on in your head, then that's a big problem. So those two things I would recommend anybody that's in college to really focus and strive to become proficient.
Awesome. So don't skip your math classes.
Like, I swear, I used to have anxiety. I like would get sick because I was like, oh, I hate this math class. I don't know, I didn't like it, but I had to go through it. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah. So, okay. So my final question is actually, and then I'll let you share any final words that you want to share. But the final question that I have is, what advice would you give your younger self at the beginning of your career? So I'll go with Heidi.
It's gonna be okay. I think every day you wake up with a fear of messing up or doing something wrong, but it's gonna be okay. My mom has always been very supportive of me, and I just feel like she's always, she's like, va a estar bien, mija. So I feel like just trusting yourself and knowing that if you're putting your heart into it, that's the place you need to be into. And I don't know, for myself, when I was starting my career at the former law firm and I had spent there 11 years, I would have said to myself, jump when I wanted to, and I could have jumped sooner. I think a lot of things kept me from that. I think times have changed now where people have different, like they move jobs every 3 to 6 months. And that wasn't the case a couple of years ago, where that wasn't seen as being able to loyalty to a company. Now people want to see that you have experiences at different companies. It's actually something that is coveted. So that's the only other thing that for me was the thing that I'm like, oh, well, now I can do that through having my own law firm and just expanding my practice into areas I wasn't involved in before.
Awesome. Alejandra?
Yeah, I think I have something very similar. I would definitely tell myself to enjoy the moment a little more, not in the sense that I should have quit and go on vacation, but more because I used to stress too much about like future, about work and school. I wanted everything to be perfect, and I should have just trusted myself a little more. I would have told myself that everything was going to be okay. And yeah, I just needed to continue to work hard without stressing too much. And I didn't need to focus too much on my failures. Yeah, definitely that. Because I used to, like, if something went wrong, I would just circle around it and be like, oh my God, how could I do this? Like, stop focusing on that and just focus on the good things and keep going.
Okay, awesome. I actually am a little bit of a liar. So I have 2 questions that someone just sent me. So I'll ask them. One of them is, how has your culture impacted the work that you are doing? So has, being Latina had any kind of impact in your work or in your career, maybe the kind of projects you took on or the kind of clients you took on? So I'll go with Heidi.
Well, definitely more now than ever, working in the diversity and inclusion space, helping build opportunities and for the Latinx community. So yes, and I think always in our culture, just being hardworking and really see there's no adversity that our parents haven't faced that we can't face. So I have always had that in the back of my mind. And like I said earlier, just once I've made it, if you're in a position of power, it's your job to empower somebody else. So I think that's another thing that runs in our culture as well.
Absolutely. Alejandra?
Yeah, I think for me, being Latina and the companies that I've worked on, the majority of the people that I've worked with, yes, they're diverse, but it is honestly been mostly white people. So I think their perception on me because of my accent, my name, at the beginning, they wanted to corner me and be like, oh, you're from Mexico, you speak Spanish, translate. And I'm like, no, like, how about you find out all the things that I can do and that are not translation related? And like, I had to prove myself. So you have to fight because people are always going to treat you the way they assume you are. And you have to fight that stereotype. Otherwise, yeah, I would still be translating, or I would still be bringing cupcakes because people, for some reason, assume I'm a great cook just because I'm from Mexico. And that's not the case. I'm actually a horrible cook. But yeah, I fight the stereotype.
Okay, this is the final question. Someone asked me, one of the girls emailed me this question earlier about how you deal with the imposter syndrome in the workplace. So this is like a new word I didn't even know existed, but the idea is, or I know it was, a coined term, but the idea is that you feel like you don't belong somewhere. So have you ever felt this way, and how did you deal with it? So either in your workplace or while you were in college or in law school. So Alejandra?
Yes, I actually had to deal with a person a couple of years ago that basically told me that I was taking the job of an American and I needed to go back to my country. He ended up in HR and it was not a very pleasant situation, but I think that just made me like feel like, yeah, maybe, I began to question myself, like maybe he's right. I am taking the job of somebody that's from here, and I went to college, and like I have this great opportunity to be at this company, and I'm so lucky. So that was like imposter syndrome, like huge, because whatever his beliefs were, I had worked just as hard, if not more, for this position. And it took a while for me to get out of that mindset, because it did like hurt me, not just like at work, but even at home. I began to question like all the things that I was doing, because my entire family is in Mexico, and I'm like here on my own, like trying to make it work. And it was a low blow, but you just have to get out of there and like look at all the things that you have done, look at the reasons why you're doing the thing that you're doing. And yeah, there's like there's no reason why you don't deserve what you have at the moment, because if you worked hard for it, it's not like I punched somebody and like, oh, I want your job. Like I actually worked so hard to be here. So yeah, goodbye imposter syndrome.
Heidi?
Well, I'm so sorry you went through that, Alejandra, but I think that's something that's important to share. I feel I get imposter syndrome a lot because as a lawyer, it's also a primarily older white male industry. And every time I have to get on a phone call to negotiate, I pray to every single God because it is hard, and you feel like, oh, and you start to doubt yourself. So I think one of the things that I've learned is, first of all, nobody really knows what they're doing. Just break it down to you. Everyone feels the same way, and just do your best. I always err towards over preparing. And I think if you ever felt like you did something wrong or something, I'm always very open and try to offer options to my clients and tell them like, hey, this person, I've had so many older white men be rude on me on phone calls, tell me if the only reason I was doing it was because I want one clause where it has to, the contract has to be litigated in California. And he's like, are you doing that so you get the money? I'm like, what does that have to do with anything, you know? And so you just have to learn that I don't become adversarial, because that doesn't go anywhere. You just end the phone call and just move on with your client and explain to them the situation, because in those points, you're not going to break through to them. And unfortunately for me, there's no HR. You just have to kind of like take it as it is. And it's not a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of kind of what, you know, is being toppled down in every industry right now with all of the Me Too, Time's Up, and those sort of actions.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's something that we're going to continue to you know, to kind of struggle with, and I think like daily affirmations of like, I belong here, and this is my place, or I worked hard to be here, or even just remembering where our where we started, where our parents started, and where we are at now is a great affirmation of like your potential and your capacity to be great at whatever you decide to do. So any final words from you guys before we wrap it up? Anything that you feel like we're in the dark.
Just for me, if there's anyone who has questions or is interested in law, I'm happy to give you my email and post it as well. They're welcome to reach out to me, and please, friend me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting about events for our community, and everyone is always welcome. So I just really want to make 2018 the year where we see more of us at the table.
Awesome.
Yeah, likewise. If anybody has any questions about what I do or coding, if anybody's interested in joining, I don't know, or creating a group to maybe start a project, or if somebody has a project and like is really struggling to complete it or fix a problem, I'm available for any help.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing an hour of your day with us. And hope to talk to you both soon.
Thank you. Take care. Good night.